Welcome back to another one of the 10-minute videos. I hope you're enjoying the flower arranging tutorial so far. We of course upload a back to basics video on a Monday morning at 9:30, and that takes you through all the very basic design styles that there are within flower arranging and floristry. And then on a Wednesday evening at 7 p.m. we upload a more contemporary or a more advanced style of arranging, filmed in hopefully 10 minutes. And if you're enjoying, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, leave a comment below if you have any questions, or give us a thumbs up if you're enjoying. So today I've got quite a heavy based ceramic container, and it holds nicely one whole block of floral foam placed on its side. That's been fully soaked before we started filming, and it sits nice and comfortably in the base there, so we haven't got to worry about tape or any floral frogs to hold it into place. I'm going to be creating a little bit of a contemporary design, so I don't have any side placements, which then allows the floral foam to be placed lower than the container, the edge of the container itself. If you're arranging in a more traditional style where you need to have the side placements, the horizontal placements, you need to have foam a good inch or so above your container. But for today, most of my placements are fairly vertical, so I don't need to worry about having too much excess foam to cover at the end when my design is almost complete. So I'm aiming today to have one side slightly taller than the other, so we have a sort of asymmetrical balance to the design. And I'm going to start, now these are birch. These are birch twigs that have been previously dyed by the growers and the suppliers. So these come in ready done, and I order them quite a lot for Christmas designs. I use them a lot in Christmas demonstrations, and it's just your basic birch that you would have in your garden or in a wooded area, maybe if you're out for a walk somewhere. Any tall, straight pieces. It doesn't have to be anything technical or anything specific that you go looking for. And you could use either a spray, just your ordinary white spray, or you could use some emulsion paint just to touch up over the outside. You can see there it's natural colour on the base. And that gives me my first placement. And just to hide where those bare branches are there at the bottom, we'll bring a little bit more of that birch down to the base. Now the birch at the moment I'm using in almost quite a vertical parallel style, but it's very versatile, it's flexible, it bends really well, and it's one that I like to have in different colours here in the studio, and I can incorporate it in gift bouquets or arrangements. It's very handy little foliage to have. And what I've done there is just created a vertical placement onto one side, and this is going to be the taller of my placements. The general rule is to go at least twice the widest part of your container. So for me, the widest part is the width. Sometimes it's the height, and I've gone at least twice, if not a little bit more, on one side. And then I'm going to repeat the pattern, so almost repeat that shape, that very vertical placement on the opposite side, but in a lower position, so that I've got almost an echoed, almost a reflection on the opposite side, but in a shorter, smaller form. You could of course do two placements that are the same height, but for today, to make it a little bit more interesting, I'm going to bring two in at slightly different heights. So that pretty much decides my overall outline shape. Now, if you've been watching the Back to Basics series of videos, you will have seen that the first design that we did in week 1 was a vertical or a line arrangement. And what I'm going to do now is almost repeat that vertical line that you learned the first week and use it in a more contemporary style. So we're bringing this beautiful white carnation, so just your ordinary carnation that you can pick up in a good florist shop or a supermarket. That will bring my visual line. So what I've done is I've created a line down there from the top of the birch. My eye will continue all the way down till it meets the container there at the bottom. And then you could again repeat that on the opposite side, but because I want this section a little bit smaller, I'm just going to add in one carnation down there at the base, just so that I'm echoing it but giving a slightly different look. And what I've aimed to do with that one is just place it so it's not on the same line as this carnation here or the lower placement there. Otherwise you create a little bit of a sort of vertical block where your eye travels right the way across the centre, almost splitting that design in half. So if I look at it from the side, it's still very vertical. I'm not coming forward too much. I'm keeping it quite contained, quite elegant and quite simple. But staggering them so that the distance between each one is fairly similar. Now to create some base weight, to bring me some colour and some coverage of the foam right down there in the middle, I have some lovely little white hydrangeas. Now this was part of one big head and I've just cut it down so that I can use a smaller selection of the flower heads. I don't need a huge head there in the middle. I'm just trying to keep it all within the overall scale and proportion of my container. So we'll bring that down there, and then that will give me some visual weight down at the bottom so that I have a link of colour from one side to the other. So I'm trying to create this sort of almost an asymmetrical line moving from one side to the other. And then a little bit of simple foliage. So I don't have a great deal of the eucalyptus. I didn't want to overfill and overstuff the design. So we're just going to bring a simple little bit of the grey eucalyptus in alongside that carnation. Again, keeping these parallel lines very vertical. And a shorter one on the opposite side. So again, we're repeating the colour. And I'm just going to use some small sections down low there at the front. Again, so that I've got a little bit of a colour link between one side and the other. So my eye picks up the grey on this side and then travels through to the grey on the opposite side. There we are, we just spin that round so you can see a little bit of the grey follow through the middle and back up on the other side. And with these small little pieces, I can pop these in at the back. Again, just to cover some of the floral foam at the back there and to help provide a little bit of a colour link from one side to the other. Now, how's that looking? Now I also have rosemary, and I chose this because it had quite a nice vertical shape to it. Not too fussy and not too frilly, not too overpowering, and it has again that lovely grey tone which picks up on the greys in my container and the grey of my eucalyptus. And this will give me a little bit of contrast between the very flat, bold shape of the eucalyptus. And again, just a shorter piece on the opposite side. A little bit shorter because we don't need it to cover that first piece of eucalyptus. And again, with the shorter bits, these lovely little pieces, we can tuck these down quite low. But don't overfill at this stage because you lose that quite simple minimalist look that we're trying to create. And this is one of the reasons again why we kept the floral foam quite low, is because if we had to cover a huge amount of floral foam, you very simply lose the clean lines of a very simple styled arrangement. And again, just while I face that forward, we just put some rosemary in at the back. Now this will be a design that will be seen from the front, so it's a front facing design rather than all around. Quite a good one to do if you haven't got a local florist and you're a little bit limited to your flower selection. It's a good one to do with maybe just a bunch of supermarket roses and with some minimal plant material from either the garden or a friend's garden. And the added bonus, of course, of this gorgeous rosemary is that it smells so wonderful. And it will be a perfect gift for somebody if you were thinking about maybe sending a present to a family member. That gorgeous smell from the rosemary will be a real treat for the person that's receiving it. So let's just get rid of that for a moment. Clear off that. And spin it round. Now I have got a completely contrasting flower to go with it, and along with the perfumed rosemary I've also got some lovely freesias. And I chose the freesias because they have that lilac-y tone that goes really well with my container. They're a slightly different variety, one is a little bit darker than the other. But just going again, just to repeat the first line of flowers that we originally created. So bring in the freesia down alongside those carnations without splaying them out too far. So we're trying to keep, it's almost like a column, if you think of it being sort of two columns in a building. We don't want to go too wide and splay them out too far. So we keep bringing that down towards the front. So you can see there how I'm just linking together the colour of the freesia in between the white carnations. And I don't need the whole bunch, but I'm just going to do the same on the opposite side, bring in a little bit of colour so that we have colour link on both sides. Gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. I love a freesia. I think if I had to choose my favourite flower, it would be the freesia. Just pop that in there at the front, and I think if we can get another one in that's quite tall, that's a lovely example. We could go slightly higher than the carnation, so we've got a smaller flower at the top there. Now I'm just going to put this back hydrangea down a little bit lower, because what it's doing is it's making the design quite fussy in the middle. So by pushing it down a little bit further, it now looks like one flower head rather than lots of small bitty ones. So it gives me a much more cleaner line there in the middle. So that's coming together nicely. Move these out of the way. And just to bring in a little bit of a contrast in colour, I've got the silver birch as well, and this will help just lift the colour combination a little bit. And I'm going to do the same thing, just feed it down in between those columns that we created. Now I could have put this in at the beginning. There's no reason why I've held the silver birch back to the last position. Could have done it all in one point at the beginning. Keep bringing that down. Now Christmas is coming, of course. And this silver birch will be fantastic over the Christmas period. It can go really well into Christmas door wreaths, into your table centres, and your different types of flower arrangements. And if you can't find it at your local florist, I'm sure they can order it in for you. Silver birch birch. Comes in loads of different colours. You can... Oh. So this one, of course, is sprayed silver, but you can get it in rose gold, a bright gold, quite an antique gold. There will be lots of this available as we come up to Christmas. It'll be available in orange colours through the autumn. Oh, just can't find my floral foam. There we are. So let's have a little quick look at that. So I think that's lovely. What do we think? So another one of our quick design. So it's basically 2 vertical arrangements that we learned to do in week 1 of the step-by-step tutorials. And hopefully you've enjoyed that and you'd like to have a little go at home. So don't forget, if you've enjoyed, subscribe to the channel, leave us a comment or a thumbs up if you enjoyed, and if there's any particular videos that you'd like to see, send me a message and we'll see what we can do. And bye for now. See you all very soon.